Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, kiss me. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, in other words, in other words, I love you.
We're bigger than we ever dreamed, and I'm in love with being queen. I never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings in the movies, and I'm not proud of my address. In a torn up town, no postcard heavy, but every song's like gold teeth, gray goose tripping in the bathroom, bloodstains, ball gowns, trash in the hotel room. We don't care.
No, I can't see, so I have no idea what you're doing. Let me pour myself a coffee first before we get started. Okay. Hello everyone and good evening. This is live from Kampala and it's time to have coffee with me. It's been very cold for most of you, and my recommendation to you is that if you're feeling cold, go on to Jumia and buy yourself a packet of coffee. It looks like that. You'll recognize it very easily, Rujeyo Farm coffee, and when you buy it, it will be delivered to your door, and then you won't have to suffer the cold anymore. Coffee keeps you warm. So, and then you can join me. So good morning, good evening everyone, and let me check out the guys. Hey, you know what I have just done? Sorry, the guys on Spaces. I didn't realize I hadn't unmuted my mic. I almost did what we did the last time. I was welcoming everybody, and I was saying that to those of, first of all, let me welcome the guys on Zoom. You can zoom in on us now. And our subscribers on YouTube, thank you very much for following us. We started with 0 people following us. I think we're now getting up to about 800 or 1,000 people. That's good enough. I mean, that's almost like 7 classrooms. So that's a fantastic audience. So thank you guys for logging on. And my guys on Spaces, I hope the internet is better and that you can hear me loud and clear. So Chris Cacho, show me a sign that you can hear me. My man Kalifungwa, after yesterday, it's nice to see that you're the one seated at the front of the class. Haman, the brand lady. Oh my, I seem to have lost my Spaces connection. So I'll try and get back on the Spaces connection. Let me just see if I can get it back on. Just 1 minute and I should be back on. I just lost my Spaces. Okay, let me do just that and then I will rename it. So guys, just be patient with me. I know you're watching, but I lost my Spaces connection, so I need to get the guys back on. There's like 300 people already. So I just lost my connection there for a minute. The same internet problems that I was telling you about. So just give me a minute to get the guys back on. And this is the live session of the 40 days. So I am just, okay. No, I haven't done it. So this is the live session. If I look a bit disorganized, it's because I am. So I just lost my connection. And I am back. Okay. Done. Guys, sorry about this. The guys on spaces. Good. I hope you can hear me now. Show me a sign. Otoa. Kalema. Show me a sign that you can hear me, please. Kalifungwa, show me a sign. I need either you do a 100% or Otoa, show me something. Wow. Just for the guys on spaces, please let me know if you can hear me. And let me see if I can get a better internet connection on my phone so that I can show me a sign, guys, that you can hear me. Okay, let's see what to do about this. I'm gonna switch. No, I can't. So I'm gonna get Solomon. Oh, okay. Can you hear me now, guys? Okay, great. So let's get started. I am going to get an option anyway that will be switching me from one internet to the other if possible. I just hope nobody rings me, because if somebody rings me, I'll be messed up completely. Let's get that done. Okay, now that we're beautiful. So I promised you that today I will be talking about what you can do to get ahead. So it's an interesting subject because nobody is going to tell you how to get ahead. Everyone sort of hides it, and they don't want to say to you that this is what you need to do in order to get ahead. And I don't mean getting ahead in a sort of negative way where you go around backstabbing people. That's not what I mean. I mean advancing in your career, in whatever it is that you want to do, so that you can be able to achieve your objectives, really. That's what I'm talking about. But by getting ahead, it means you didn't go into a place to remain stagnant. You want to become something. You want to grow. You want to get to the top. That's what we all want when we get into these places and when we get into these organizations. So that's really the issue that I want to address, because it's a life I lived. It's a corporate life I lived, and I was in these corridors, and it was more than just the work that you did. It takes a lot more than just being able to produce. It's about relationships. It's about who you deal with and how you deal with them that really impacts your journey. Otherwise, just producing a good job on its own is not enough. Guys, I'll just ask. I am using my SIM card for the internet. So if you call me, you'll interfere with the spaces. So just don't call. Let me use that for the session on spaces, and that should work. So yeah. So back to this. So my whole point I wanted to talk to you about today, as I said, is how does one actually get ahead? That's the question that we need to answer. How does one actually get ahead? So the first thing, as I say, first things first, that you really need to deal with in determining whether you can get ahead is, first of all, you need to, as we keep saying on these sessions, is you need to have an honest conversation with yourself. And that conversation is essentially about, what does ahead mean for you? What does it actually mean? What does ahead mean? You have to figure out what for you is ahead, so that when you start the journey of getting or going to that ahead, that is very clear in your mind. What is it that represents ahead? What are the ingredients of ahead? For some people, ahead is being promoted to a particular office. Other people, ahead is getting a lot of money. Other people, ahead is being recognized every year as the employee of the year. All those amount to aheads. All those things that I'm talking about, they amount to getting ahead. The thing that you need to work out for yourself before you even start trying to wonder which direction am I going to go, how am I going to get ahead, the ahead is, the tools you will need will be determined by the ahead. So for instance, as I said, for some people, they just want to make large tons of money. For others, they want to grow in the hierarchy and get to the top. For others, it's prestige. Some just want to be recognized. Some just like to have lots of power. It's different. So question for you is, what is it that you represents progress or represents ahead for you? Once you figure that out, then all that up, because if you don't, you're going to end up being a drifter. You will just keep being tossed by the waves and the winds, and you will go where the waves take you. You will not be able to make the progress. So today you find people going to the market, you just follow them, you go to the market. Tomorrow they're going to the nightclub, you go to the nightclub. You never have your own agenda. So it's important to define what ahead means for you. And that means that you develop a personal agenda that represents your journey of progress. And you say, in 7 years' time, I want to be the managing director of Absa Bank, or I would like to be the Minister of Finance, or I'd like to be Secretary to the Treasury, or I'd like to be an accomplished surgeon, or whatever it is that you want to be. Define it. Then your journey of getting ahead begins. So, the first thing that I would really, really like to tell you that you need to sort out is that you will never get ahead on your own. Never. That you must learn from today. For you to get ahead, you need to relate with other people or to other people. That's important. So let me just check out now with Tony that the guys on Spaces can hear me. Tony, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you 100%.
Okay. I had a near panic because suddenly I lost connection, but that's fine. Great.
No, please proceed.
Okay. And I'm making sense. Well, you
Absolutely.
you have to praise me anyway. You don't have a chance. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, good. So remember one thing, and this is a lesson I have learned. You must develop what is called people skills. If you can't get along with people, if you're a prickly personality, people can't stand you, you will never progress beyond where you are now. And let's start with just very basic small things. First of all, you should try and be good company. And by good company, let's start with some very, very basic issues. If your hygiene is a problem, nobody is going to want to be hanging around you. The only talk about you will be, this guy, he smells. We don't want to be anywhere near him. Now, once you acquire a reputation that you are not good company, then you will never advance. People will never want to be in your company. And if they don't want to be in your company, nobody wants to help you to grow. If, however, on the other hand, you invest in being likable, not liked, in being likable, the two are completely different things. You invest in being likable, you're personable, people can relate to you, they find it fairly easy to get along with you, you're not caustic, you're not a drag, you're not a pain. That is always a very good beginning, because we all know these friends that we have who The guy, every time he walks into your company, everybody goes, oh my God, he has come. And you know that the guy is completely unlikable. So you as an individual, you must invest your time in having people skills. So first, being likable. Two, being able to get along with people, converse with them, hold conversations. Are you able to hold conversations? These are things we take for granted, but not everybody is able to hold a good and decent conversation. So how do you relate to people? Do you accommodate them? Do you understand other people? Are you somebody who people are drawn to? And if they're drawn to you, you need to invest in understanding, why are people drawn to you? Why do they keep coming back to you? It's because there's something about you. Now, it is that group of people, it's that attribute that people will then feel it has to be rewarded. And the reward will always come with either recommendations of people saying, yeah, if there's an opportunity, yeah, give it to George. George is a nice guy. They entrust you. When the elections for the office circle come up, George is the guy to be elected. So it's important that your people skills, your human relations are developed over time. There's no point in you being a hermit, unless of course you want to be a monk. If you want to be a monk, if that's your objective, then that's fine. You can stay away from people and stay in the mountains and contemplate the rest of your life. That's fine. Grow a beard if you wish. But if you want to get ahead in a social setting, you must acquire people skills. You must know how to relate with human beings. You must have the language, and you must understand and be able to accommodate different cultures. Forget your prejudices that you learned at home. You need to have an open mind. You need to understand that there are different people in the world, that there are different cultures, and that therefore what may make somebody else tick, will make another one tick. Some of us think we have a fantastic sense of humor, but yet what we do is hurtful, or what we say is really actually boring. So you need to know how to engage and relate with people. It's absolutely, so for me, one of the skills that I developed from a very early age is how to get along with people. Just be likable. I am not saying be liked, just be likable. Be able to make other people feel comfortable in your company. Comfortable both at the level of engaging with you, but also, as I said, at the level of hygiene. If you don't bathe for 4 days, why do you think that people will want you in their company? You don't brush your teeth. Thank God these days for masks. So we now can get away with a lot of things. But these are the things that you must pay attention to. You can't say, for me, I am outspoken, I am frank, I am what, and yet all you do is you are rude and insulting people. You already will have acquired a reputation with other people. Please, please, please. If there's only one lesson you take away today, it is this. You need and you will need people skills, how to relate to people if you're going to get ahead, because it is those people who will propel you. It is those people who will be making the decisions, whether they are your seniors or your peers or your juniors. They will be making decisions and taking actions based on their subjective experiences with you. We can talk objectivity all we want, but it also comes in. So that's why I'm insisting that relating to people is an important skill you need to acquire in order to get ahead. Related to that, and I am glad that my sidekick, Tony Otoa, is going to handle this issue. If you want to get ahead, you must have communication skills. That is not a negotiable position. If you cannot express yourself, if you cannot deliver what it is you are expected to communicate, forget it. People will not know what you stand for, what to do with you, or what to do for you. So you'll always remain stagnant. We all know people who in their minds are muddled up. You go into a meeting and the man keeps talking the whole day and never makes a point. Those kinds of people never advance. And it is always, for instance, the slick talkers who somehow get ahead. They always get the best girls. They're always getting the best things. Those people just know how to persuade and how to get their way and how to put out their point. So my sidekick, as I keep calling him, but my colleague Tony Otoa, with whom we've been doing this, Tony is going to do a session on skills, communication skills, on how to do public speaking. please check it out on Twitter and log in for him, because it's important for you to know how to express yourself. If you don't know how to express yourself, go and teach yourself how to express yourself effectively. I'll never forget I think it was my first week in office as a legal officer at New Vision. And Mr. William Pike then was the managing director, so he sent me a letter from lawyers and asked me to reply the letter. So I wrote a reply using the language I had learnt at the Law Development Center. And I remember using the word obdurately. So I knew that I was going to impress Mr. William Pike, Mzungu, with my English language and my bombastic vocabulary. When I took it to him, those days William was quite explosive, so he nearly started banging the table. He crossed out so many things in my letter, and from that day, William taught me a very, very, very important communication lesson that has lived with me up to today. William Pike told me, when you're communicating, communicate in very simple language. When you're speaking, just use the simplest language that people can understand. Do not, unless of course your objective is to impress others with your bombastic language, but otherwise just make it simple. Don't complicate things with big words. It doesn't work. In fact, it embarrasses you, and you may even scare your supervisor, who may think you're trying to outdo him, and then he does you in. The other thing William taught me is that when you're writing, write in simple English or simple language and in short sentences. Do not write a paragraph of one sentence. Just keep a sentence in not more than 7 words. That has worked wonders for me, because I am able to express myself simply and easily for people to understand. The other principle I learned when I was at law school, or the Faculty of Law in Makerere, and one of the famous judges we used to study was a man called Lord Denning, and his style of delivering judgments was that he communicated the decision first and then gave the justification afterwards. So there are different styles of writing judgment. So I picked that up as a principle. So now in all my communication, the first thing I deal with is my request. So if I am writing to ask for something, I will immediately write in the opening paragraph, I'm writing to you to request for permission to buy a gun. Aha. So the point is made at the beginning. But let me not steal Otowa's thunder. I'm sure that he will do a good job. The point I'm making to you is, 1, get people skills. Know how to relate to people, talk to them very well. Number 2, communication skills. These 2 things will tie into one of the other subjects, and I will tell you another story. When I was appointed to set up the Uganda Media Center, I quickly realized that I was dealing in a context in government that was completely different from the world I knew at New Vision. And so very quickly, I had to understand how things are done in the civil service, and that there is hierarchy, there is process, there is procedure, and people, every person at their different level is extremely powerful, and they can make your life impossible if you don't acknowledge that power and actually work with it. You can't go there and start hoping to bulldoze your way around. So it turned out that the person I had been handed over to supervise me was the mother of a very good friend of mine. But she didn't know that me and her son were friends. So when I went to her office, the first thing I did was to invoke the friendship between me and her son, and that I was actually very well known to her daughter. Immediately at that point, she changed from being the official who I was dealing with at an official level, and she became my mother. and she immediately adopted me as a foster son and now was invested in my success at the media center. And then she handed me over to somebody and said, please take care of this young man and make sure that the things that he asks for are sorted out. And that gentleman I was handed to then took me to his office and he gave me a lecture. And the lecture was on how government processes and systems work. So the thing he told me was that, look, if you ever need anything done, come to me directly and we'll have it done. Don't go anywhere else. At that point, I learned that there is no point in going above this man ever again, because if I ever do that, it will be as if I am reporting him. And from that day onwards, I learned how to deal with those kinds of situations, which takes me to the next principle that I need you to learn. First of all, you owe it to yourself. You're the one who wants to get ahead. You owe it to yourself to be in charge of the process of getting ahead. Nobody is going to do it for you. There are no good Samaritans who are going to come and take you. You're going to have to do so. This is where now I give you the other principle. You must invest in understanding the power dynamics of the place you are in, whether it is a family or a business or a company or a government organization, whatever it is. You have an obligation to understand the power dynamics of the place. Who holds what type of power? Remember, there will be all sorts of people purporting to be powerful. Now, there are real powers who are movers and shakers. Then there are, excuse my language, there are bullshitters who like to go around pretending that they are actually movers and shakers. And these ones, you can always tell who they are because they're always name dropping and they want you to know that they were part of a very important decision. Now, never mix offices and power, because there are some people who have offices but really don't mean very much, and others don't have offices or supposedly don't have very powerful offices. So let's take an example. All of you people go to offices of big people and then you are completely rude to the personal assistant of that person, or a secretary as we used to call them in nowadays. I've been on the other side and I have had a personal assistant, and I know people who have come completely mishandled my personal assistants and they never ever got a chance to see me. So I am telling you, please be forever polite with people who control access to those who matter to you. People who control access are more powerful than you think. So do not go there, as we say, taking your lugezi-gezi, and because you think you're a big person in the organization, your papers can vanish. Until the day you acknowledge and recognize that this person can make my things move. This is important. So it's up to you to invest. And it doesn't kill you to be polite, to greet the person. And be polite and humble, which I guess, and there are lots of people like that around. They matter very much. So all I'm saying to you is please understand the power dynamics of the location, and because those power dynamics will determine whether you advance, get ahead or not. And you will not be able to force your way through. Organizations and systems and societies are like that. They are people who make important decisions, and that's that. Now, what you need is access to those people who make important decisions. So again, as I'm sharing with you, please understand and never ever, I guess this comes in with a lesson in humility. So you've got to be polite. So first of all, you've got to acquire the knowledge of what are the power dynamics. The next thing you need to do is be polite and humble with everyone and express your gratitude to these people. Always make the people you're dealing with feel important, because if you don't, you will never ever get anything done through those people. They will make your life impossible, and they will make sure you never grow, because they're trying to prove to you that they are important and that you should acknowledge it. So what does it kill you to acknowledge it from the outset and say that these people are important? So that is an important principle that you must acknowledge. These people are important, whether the person is a secretary or an office messenger. Now here is why you really need to do that again. Because you never know. You never know where these people will end. And I can give another, I think the born-again Christians call it testimony. Me, I'll tell you so. Because I already told myself that I will always unfailingly be polite and nice to people. And you really have to be nasty to me for me to return the compliment. There was somebody who was working for me. And she was young, I was training her. Actually, now that I think about it, there's like almost 2 or 3 of them. 2 of them went on to become members of parliament. In fact, one even became a minister. Not only was she a minister, she actually was one of my direct supervisors. Now, things change. The people you may think are below you today, please have the humility, because tomorrow they could become something, and then your journey of getting ahead now hits a wall. So how you treat people at that level again comes back to that. So that's as far as now. The other thing you need to work out, the other principle that you need to work out is, what is it that you, as the individual who wants to get ahead, what benefit do you bring to the table? If you're not bringing any benefit, then you need to think seriously. So, 1, invest in knowledge, in a specialized skill, or something of importance that other people, especially those who have power and authority over you, it must be something that they want to have. It could be that you're just the funny guy and you always go to the boss's office in the afternoons when he's tired, and you become the guy who helps him ease pressure, so you talk and fine. Or you have such a specialized skill that the success of your supervisors is dependent on you applying that skill. That, though, shouldn't make you arrogant. You should just be aware, what bargain do I bring to the table? Once you know that bargain, then you can leverage your growth, because you will make yourself indispensable to the success of your supervisors or whoever they are, and they'll carry you along. So before you know it, they're recommending you to this, allowing you to have courses, travel for this, and then you grow. So you need to be aware, what is my value? And that value had better not be a commodity. Of course, there will be a situation now where you are competing, you bring the same value with 5, 6 other people. You all have exactly the same skills, or whatever advantages, all of you have them. So the issue then becomes, what is it that is unique about you as the individual that differentiates you from the others, which then can be leveraged by you and by other people to get you to grow? You owe it to yourself to find that out. People are not going to find it out for you and tell it to you. That's why all of you complain, but my boss doesn't like me. No. The boss hasn't been impressed by you. The fault is yours. Look at yourself. Think, why am I failing? Why can't I grow? Why can't I break through to these people, the ones that are decision makers, the ones that would take me to another level? Ask yourself that very brutal question. If you don't ask yourself that very brutal question, you will stay where you are. And the biggest loser in you staying where you are is not anyone else but you. The others, in fact, are gaining. So, once you do that, then the next thing you need to invest in is, do you understand the other person or the people that you work with? Do you have enough emotional intelligence to understand those people and their circumstances? I used to tell guys at the office that please invest in understanding the circumstances of your supervisors, including their personal lives. I used to tell them that you may find that your supervisor, when he goes home, the wife abuses him, and by abuse I mean even physical. The man is at home, he's not a man. So what he does is he then comes and takes it out on you guys in the office because he's frustrated at home. He's failed to prove who he is. Now, if you invest time in understanding your supervisors and their circumstances, then you will not be upset with him or angry at him or her. You learn how to work with them and to make their life simpler either at the office or wherever it is that you are. That way, then they will think you're in their corner. Once they feel you're in their corner, they will open opportunities for you. They will allow you to do a few things. And you must remember that taking the initiative in these situations is important. It will also help you to now go and ask. You'll be in a position to say, can I be trusted with this? You must, this is your business. You must not only make yourself likable, but you must also be credible. And it is your responsibility. Those who have power and supervise you must be able to trust you with the work they are giving you. How do you prove that? And you're only going to have that opportunity by going out to them and asking, by doing more than you do now without them asking you. I think one of our mentors earlier this week or sometimes said, if you're supposed, I think it was Daudi Nanambi, he said, if you need to do a report and the boss has said, give me the report on Tuesday, give the report on Monday and ask if there are any comments and how you could improve it. So that's how people get ahead, because they put in extra. Extra is not singing praises. By the way, the moment you get into the praise singing business and you think that praise singing is going to get you ahead, you are in very big trouble. You've already handed over your fate to another person, because before you know it, very soon an even more effective praise singer is going to come. And if the person doesn't like being praised at any one time, you're in trouble. So that's one of the principles. The other one, of course, and especially for those of you who are still quite young and energetic and roaring to go, is patience. There's a quote that's attributed to Warren Buffett. I don't know if it's correct, but it says that you cannot short circuit a pregnancy of 9 months by making 9 women pregnant and hope that the pregnancy will last 1 month. Some things will take time. Are you ready to wait for the process to play out? You've got to have the patience. Now, what that means is that you should have a long-term view. Very few people have the capacity and the skills to develop a long-term view of their lives. You should be able to visualize that ahead that I was talking about in 20 years and then wait for the 20 years to work through. But some of you are impatient. You arrive in a company or a business and within 2-3 years you want to be the executive director or the MD. No. The guy who is in the corner office has been at it for 20 years. He's been on that journey. Why do you think you're going to short circuit it in 5 years? Unless you're a genius. And that doesn't really happen very much. So you're going to have to be patient, learn the ropes, allow the process to develop and allow you to grow and gain, because some of these things you will not be prepared for them. Some of the challenges that you face as you grow are challenges that need to be dealt with a certain amount of experience. So please develop not just the humility, but also the patience, the self-restraint to know that maybe I am not yet ready for this position or for this growth or for this process. You're not. It's as simple as that. And the moment you know that, then you will know that certain things will happen at the right time. So, and that patience comes with the need to know. Then, This is one thing that really actually affects mainly women. You need to find mechanisms. Oh yeah, by the way, maybe before I go away from that point, people say, how do you learn patience? How do you exercise humility? One of the ways you can teach yourself humility is put yourself in activities or in positions where you are routinely either embarrassed or humiliated or aggravated. So you can go into a boot camp, or you can do long distance running. I enjoy doing long distance running. Those things test you to the core. You know, do things that test you to the core. So that there was a guy who taught me something. He came to work at Vision. He was seconded to us by an American institute, and he was a senior editor. He once told me a tactic which I have since applied. He said, when you're going to have a difficult meeting, he told me that when he was going to have a difficult meeting, what he would do is he would wake up early and go and have a swim. One that was so tiring that by the time he came out, nothing so extreme that he would meet in the meeting would shake him. So now I apply that principle. In order, if I know I'm going to go into an engagement that will try my patience, that will require me to exercise this highest amount of self-control, that morning I do a brutal run. So that by the time I go into that meeting, nothing can be as bad as the brutality I suffered in the morning on the run. So there are things, exercises you can do to build your patience. And you can engage in those. So, but I was saying that for the women, there is a particular attribute that they suffer from. Again, because society, because of all these patriarchal setups that, you know, disadvantage girls from when they're young and through the schooling system. There's a lot of self-doubt and shyness amongst the women and even some of the boys. But so when it comes to the brutality of getting ahead, they hold themselves back in the name of patience, or not wanting to be in the rat race, or they can't be in the competition. The problem with shyness and self-doubt is that those then who are self-confident move ahead. So one of the things that you need to deal with is, if you doubt yourself, you need to start working on it now. Why are you doubting yourself? You've come this far on your own. Why do you doubt your abilities? Believe in yourself. So if you doubt yourself and you are shy, you will sabotage yourself and you'll never move. You will never ask for the opportunities. You'll never step up when opportunities present themselves, because you're always unsure of who you are. Therefore, it's one thing when people tell you be self-confident, but it is also another for you to just have to deliberately fight the problem of self-doubt and the problem of shyness. Those two things will sabotage your ability to move forward. You need to deal with them. So if inside you feel, I'm not sure of myself, you are in deep trouble. Then the other thing, and you guys might laugh at me, a sense of humor. If you're one of those people who wants to get ahead, here's why you need a sense of humor. You need a sense of humor because the process of getting ahead can be brutal and sometimes very humiliating. But you need the ability to get out of yourself, stand on the side, watch your circumstances, laugh at them, so that when other people laugh at you or laugh at your failures, you are not discouraged by them. You've already laughed at yourself and you understand what it is. And you can just laugh it off. And that's it. And then it allows you to get up again and move. So, if you don't have a sense of humor, go and get one. Or find ways in which people get a sense of humor. For me, it is one of those things that has worked so well for me. And I developed the sense of humor in completely different circumstances in my childhood and in my upbringing, and it has worked very well. That by the time you come to make fun of me or laugh at me, I have already laughed at myself, and you're not contributing anything new. So it allows me to dust off the experience and move to the next thing. The final principle I want to make to you, and then I can take on the questions now, because I think I have spoken for fairly long, is have I lost my point? No, I haven't lost my point. You're going to need to know who you are. If you don't know who you are, and many of you don't, you never invest in finding out who you are and why you are the way you are, then you're in big trouble. Because then you won't know what skills to apply. Now, maybe let me address one more issue. The question of kissing ass. Excuse my language again. Now, if you're going to do that, figure out where the power is, as I said. And never mind, please go ahead and kiss ass. It is no problem. It's your lips, it's your saliva. Question is, the ass you're kissing had better be the kind of ass that is going to take you to your outcomes that you want. Now, people will call you names. They will say you're obsequious, you're this and that. But as long as it's delivering you to your promised land, do it. But if you're doing it and you don't know why you're doing it, then you're being used. And then at that point, you're not doing anything for yourself. Great. So I'm going to start the question sessions with my people on Spaces. Let's start with Mirembe Denise. Mirembe, can you speak? Mirembe Denise, are you there? I can sort of hear stuff in the background, but I can't hear you talk. Denise, are you there? I guess, Denise, you'll have to try again. So, as I said, we've opened up the question time. So, let me see if we can get Clara Splendor Kaganzi. Do you want to say anything? Oh my, this is so frustrating. I think you guys are struggling with your internet connections to be able to speak through. So we'll try again and see what happens. Maria's favorite granddaughter. Be good to know who Maria is. But Maria's favorite granddaughter. Do you want to speak? Okay, you Spaces guys are just frustrating me today. So let me take on the guys from YouTube. So Asonyu Tony is asking me, are the brutally honest and high performance people even considered humble? I think they are. It is just the question of how they deliver their honesty. And sometimes if high performers, because they're so sure of themselves and what they do, and because they bring such a high value to the table, they can get away with some of these things. It's not a good thing, because at some point you will need the people who are offended by your behavior. But high performers and honest people, they get away with it because they build trust. And people know that and then they build, this is again something I probably would have wanted to say, but I didn't say it during when I talked about human relations. When you're dealing with people, please make sure that those people owe you. When you relate with them, they should walk away feeling they owe you something. Never walk away feeling you owe somebody something, because they will cash it in. So you make sure that, so those high performance people, that's what they'll do. Let me just check again on Spaces. I can hear somebody fidgeting with their mic. So whoever it is, just speak. Let me know who you are. Oh, you mute your mic. Okay. So it's either Maria's favorite, Clara Splendor, or Alex L.
Well, I'm on.
Okay, who is this?
You've just mentioned my name.
Well, you can say it yourself.
Okay. I'm Chantal, and I really want to know why you never address patriarchy, why you are always shielding the men.
Who, me? As a person?
Yes, you as a person. I've followed you actually for a long time.
Okay, so when have I defended patriarchy?
I've seen it from your tweets, from everything.
Just give me one tweet where I have defended patriarchy. Because if you're going to accuse me, you had better have proof.
I'm not really accusing you. It is the truth.
What is the truth?
You listen.
No, you talk.
Last time, wait. Last time, people came out, like 1,000 people, accusing Denzel accusing Denzel of being a rapist, and you were still a CEO.
Yeah.
That company.
Yeah.
Yes. And there is nothing that you did. There is nothing that you did.
Chantal, I am going to tell you one of the problems.
So I really want to really want you to
now you
to me.
Yes, I am going to yes, now let me explain to you, because you've asked and you've made a false accusation against me.
Okay.
One.
Okay.
You don't know that I didn't do anything. You don't know that for a fact. So when you come in public, to make statements, be very careful what you say, because it had better be the truth. You go and ask Nicholas Opio, the lawyer of the young lady who accused Denzel. Ask him what I did. He knows. And
it was actually not one lady.
Listen.
There were over 10 people accusing
Denzel. Yes, none of them except that young lady came forward. She's the only one who came forward. The other 9 or 20 that you're talking about never turned up when I invited them for a meeting. You don't know that. So you talk to Nicholas Opio. He knows why I did not go public with the outcome of our meeting. It was at their request. So when you come in public, this is what I was talking about. When you come in public to talk about things, there had better be things that you know. Otherwise, you end up making a nuisance of yourself. Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So, what is my other question on YouTube? How do you fight self-doubt? Now, as I said, you engage in activities. What are those activities? So, for instance, if you have self-doubt, go and do bungee jumping or do whitewater rafting. You will start to see that there are things you can handle which you thought you couldn't handle. And then you start to build your confidence. It doesn't have to be in the workplace. It can be in other places. So, if you want to overcome self-doubt, please go and engage in activities that help to boost your confidence. For instance, you may want to go and do public speaking. Go and stand in front of either your church or your mosque or your school or whatever. Those are the things that over time help you to overcome self-doubts. Another question is, hey Robert, young corporates are usually influenced into bad practices and vices at the workplace like fraud, cheating. Employees who do the right thing are looked at as weak, lame, and not working smart, as people say these days. What advice would you give a young corporate that wants to stay true to their values of honesty and integrity in an environment like that? If the environment you're working in is like that, an environment that promotes unethical behavior, leave. Leave. You don't need to be in that kind of environment. Because one, that is the method of getting ahead. So you will never get ahead if you are not ready to engage in unethical behavior. So, and there are many organizations that are ethical. Go to where there is honesty, there is ethics, and people work. You will grow. Leave that for the people who want to do those things. Let them go there. So that would be my my advice to you. Let me see if there's any from Zoom. But in the meantime, I will have Gloria Sebikari. Can you talk? Let's try it and see. Gloria. Yes.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you
Yes, we can hear you.
hear me? Being heard? My question is, as you try to get ahead, especially when you're leading teams, how do you deal with not, for lack of a better word, throwing people under a bus, especially when it's maybe when they're not.
Hey, Gloria, I think I sort of get your question. Are you still there?
Contributing as meta balance responsibility for their shortcomings, especially when you are their team leader. Thank you.
Okay, so Gloria, if you are a team leader, there's one thing you need to do. As a team leader, you're responsible for the overall outcome of things in your department or the team. You cannot go elsewhere and accuse your team member or throw your team member under the bus. If a particular team member is not pulling their weight, deal with it in your department and deal with that person there and then. Don't wait for the outcomes and then go and blame them in other circles. So your job is document and then tell the person, this is the problem. If you don't fix it, you're going to leave. Now, you better be prepared to go elsewhere and defend your position. That's not throwing under the bus. That is telling people that we're supposed to be delivering these results. So-and-so in my team is not pulling their weight. This is my position. If it means getting rid of the person, then you get rid of them. That's not throwing under the bus. Throwing under the bus is when the department gets something wrong, and then you as the team leader, instead of taking responsibility for that outcome, you then blame others. And you don't want to take responsibility. That is what we mean by throwing people under the bus. But if you're dealing with a poor performer, that's a different issue. Okay, I need to check out other questions. Let's see. Katwere on Spaces, what do you have to say? Okay, while we wait for him, Eric Kimunyu on YouTube is saying, when you mentioned being open-minded, when you were talking about people's skills, which are some of the ways you can recommend for someone to get an open mind? Very simple. Learn to socialize. When you socialize, you meet people of different hues. And it teaches you to understand. First of all, the first lesson you learn is that the people, you always have prejudices and views about somebody that you haven't met until you meet them. There are people who had a very negative view of me until they meet me. And then they are so changed. They say, but why do people say you are like this, you're like this, you're like that? So you've got to interact with people regularly. You will start to develop different, you will become more patient. And it opens your mind. 2, read. Read. Human beings have been around, as I said, for 100,000 years. If you read human experiences, they tell you that so-and-so, that in society you will find criminals, you will find people who are lazy, you will find people who are honest, people who are arrogant. So once you see these traits, then you learn how to accommodate them or what to do about them. So an open mind is something that you can practice. Claire K, nice. Claire K says, nice session. Robert, please share with us from your own experience how you kept moving on when the going got tough in your career life. This is another thing you need to develop, a skill you need to develop. Focus. What is it that matters and what are side shows? You're not going to know it immediately. You have to learn. What is important and what is noise? You've got to learn what is music, what is singing, and what is cacophony. You need to distinguish those things, so that when things get tough, you know what it is you're supposed to deal with. Also, commitment to what you're doing. So if you have your own agenda, you know that in my job, this is the job, as Kalifungwa said yesterday, my job pays my bills. Then you focus on doing your job, even when it is tough, because you know you have an ulterior, you have a bigger principle that you're pursuing. It's not just the toughness and hardness of that moment. You know that you are dealing with that ultimately what your objective is bigger. So there is the commitment, but there is also discipline. Somebody, I think, sent me a question. How does discipline help you to get ahead? You've got to be personally disciplined. And why is personal discipline important? Personal discipline is important because that's how you exercise self-control. That is how you exercise humility. That's how you're able to do the things that are expected of you, however hard, so that then you can move ahead. So when you face tough times, you will have the resilience to focus and do the things that need to be done. But of course, there will come a time when maybe the toughness overwhelms and overrides. Then you change direction. That's another thing that should have said earlier, that you should be adaptable. You should be prepared to change. If you were used to a particular supervisor or a boss and things change and a new supervisor comes in, adjust. Don't say, me, I was used to behaving like this with the other boss. Now this new one has to adjust to me. No, you're the one who has to adjust because you're the one who wants to get ahead. Then there is a question from Jonathan Kabale. He says, how do you get ahead? This is, I think, on Zoom. How do you get ahead without rubbing your colleagues the wrong way? Seems crucial, especially in these times where people are okay to play dirty, and even life-threatening levels. Now, I've never understood the need to play dirty. There's no need. Ultimately, you will be the loser because that game will be played on you. You will also be played dirty. There is no reason. There's no career reason, advancement reason that requires you to rub people the wrong way. It doesn't exist. So don't do it. I have just told you that the best way to get ahead is to get along with people. They will get you ahead themselves. They will deliver you. You don't need to put other people down, or you don't need to cause pain to other people in order for you to advance. It's not necessary. Let's see who is here on Spaces. Oh, is that... Okay, what is your view about fearing God and praying as a way to get ahead? Fantastic question. Let me address it. I am not the most religious person around town, but I want to say to you that even when you go to pray to God to show you how to get ahead, God will reveal the way for you. And sometimes he does it in very cryptic ways. Now you must do the work of figuring out the way that this is what God is showing me, and then go and work. Why do you expect that God will show you the way, then walk the way for you to that place? You do the walking. So, my friend who believes strongly in prayer, it is okay, but prayer alone will not get you ahead. What prayer will do is it will focus you and it will enable you to see the way. After you've seen the way ahead and what you need to do, then do it. Now the doing has to be yours. So there has to be action. Milan Mary Nanziri on YouTube is asking me, any tips for females in male-dominated industries? Yes. Remember that you can do exactly what a man can do or even better. In my career, I discovered that, especially as I was playing a leadership role, I discovered that women bring a certain advantage, especially to the decision-making process. Now, if you're aware of that advantage, which you, as a female gender, you bring, then you can leverage that advantage to get ahead. So, you build your self-confidence knowing that the female gender brings very important aspects to this debate. So, have the confidence and do it. George Hussein, where do you draw the line between confidence and arrogance? Confidence is knowing and being aware of your abilities and knowing that you can rely on them to deliver a certain outcome. That is confidence. Arrogance is not knowing that you have those abilities, or not even knowing what the abilities are required, and behaving as if you have those abilities and wanting to have a certain outcome. You think you can do it, but you haven't assessed your abilities. And that's why people who are arrogant, they always take offense when they are questioned. But if you're confident and you're questioned, you will always explain and show how you're able to do a certain thing. The problem is that a lot of people in our society, when they are challenged by the abilities and knowledge of people who are superior than them, instead of accepting it, their explanation for that is that those people are arrogant. So if somebody is outspoken or honest, and people can't handle that level of honesty, their refuge is to say this person is arrogant, because they can't relate to the person's honesty or to the person's abilities. So sometimes it is also society which has those experiences. Isabella Chirabo, why do people keep saying no one will ever understand you? What's the difference between being understood, being liked, and being accepted? Now, the only thing of the three that you have an obligation to do is to be understood. And that's why I said communication is important, so that people understand exactly where you stand on many things. It's important that you communicate and articulate and represent that properly. There is no benefit in you trying to get liked or be accepted. Why are you working so hard? You end up behaving like an attention seeker. So let me see if I can get on a couple of other people from Spaces. James Okwera. Okello David, are you guys there? Okay, let's see. Who is this? Okwera, go ahead.
James, yes, yeah, thank you so much, sir. How would you,
Sorry?
how do you advise somebody who meets a boss who is incompetent, but how do you deal with an incompetent supervisor who would get you ahead? Thank you.
Now, I am glad that Okwera has raised that question. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, your boss did not arrive in the position he arrived in by being incompetent or unable to do their job. In fact, you are not even the one who recruited him. So your opinion of his skills and competence is irrelevant, because you cannot change the dynamics. Right now, there may be things he doesn't know, and it's common. You're going to find supervisors who don't know anything about computers, or who don't know what to do with technology. But that doesn't mean that in other areas they are not competent. They have their, and there are reasons. There are reasons why. I'll never forget, again, in this journey, we went into a meeting and we took the position that somebody who was very senior and the supervisor was incompetent. We actually expressed this in a very big meeting. So a senior person took me aside and said, "Young man," I said, "Yes." He said, "This person did not become a minister by accident. And he was not, and he's not a fool. So you need to understand why he's there and therefore work with and around that." So let me just say this to you, Okwera, that please, if you know of any weaknesses and things about your boss that you think are not adding up, now you have two choices. Keep quiet and let the boss, your supervisor, injure himself through his incompetence and lack of skills, whatever it is. You, on the other hand, work so hard that you can be seen to be the opposite of your boss, and then you can take his job. That's one way. But it is dangerous, because then your supervisor or your boss may invest in stifling you so that you don't outshine him. The other one is for you to apply your competence and your skills to make your boss shine. Trust me, with time, he will let you do the job, and eventually word will come out that you're the one doing the job, and they'll give it to you anyway. So that's what I would say. That Patricia, on Zoom, how best can a qualifying individual utilize their privilege to get ahead in life without having the whole world to judge them on their methods? Because there are times, as much as you're working hard and delivering, your mates will always say, "You are here because you have a good father." Okay, Patricia, unless... Okay, sorry to the guys who are on YouTube and Zoom. We just lost our power. So I'll stay with the guys who are on Spaces. And I was telling Patricia that, look, status to get away with not doing the job. But if you're actually delivering on the job, then it doesn't matter. Forget about whether you came. People arrive at destinations from different origins. Some people come, like I remember when I was in primary school, some people would come in cars, some of us would come on foot, others on motorcycles. That's okay. But we were all students. So you're all in the workplace. Unless you are not delivering and you are invoking your privileged status, forget it. Ignore what people say and just focus on delivering what is expected of you. When you do that, people will forget how you came. They will be just looking. And in most cases, the people who say that are themselves incompetent and are therefore not the best qualified people to compete with you. And so they are using that as a stick to beat you. Okay. Let's see who we can bring in. Okello David, are you there? What about Peter Katuramu? Right, so let's see. We're going to look at a couple of other questions. Let me see what else I can pick. Oh, by the way, I know that this might be a bit late, but I should have done this at the beginning, and I know that he's on Spaces. My good friend Ramadan Govi, congratulations on your new appointment as Permanent Secretary and Secretary to the Treasury. It's a big job, and we will support you as much as we can. So good luck, and you now have an opportunity to prove all the things you've been saying. So now that that's out of the way, let's see who else can speak. Asasira Gilbert, try and see Rutasheka. Let's see, Abbas Chivazo. Are you really Abbas Chivazo? Abbas Chivazo, let's hear you.
Okay, my question is...
who are you, first of all? Okay.
Sometimes I like to use my grandfather's name, Rutasheka.
Okay, Rutasheka, go ahead.
I know you walked this journey, so I would like to know, how do you advise someone transitioning to having peers he's been working with to later becoming their boss when they get promoted? How does someone in the corporate world manage that transition?
So you say that again?
You've been having peers, you are at the same level.
Yes.
And then you get promoted, and all of a sudden you're supervising these people who you are backbiting the bosses with, doing the mischief together. How do you manage that transition, especially in the corporate world?
Oh dear, that's a great question. Rutasheka, all I'll do is I'll say this. The moment you are promoted to a senior position and you are now a team leader, the dynamics change. And I'll give the example. It's like marriage. If today we've been together and we've been drinking and enjoying life as bachelors, and tomorrow I get married, things change. I am now a different person and my circumstances have changed. So I must behave differently now. So when you get into a supervisory position, since you have been backbiting the boss, you were talking about his incompetencies. Now you know the things that need to be fixed. Remember that you will be judged by the same standard with which you were judging your former boss with your peers. But most importantly, be very clear about the objectives and what is expected of you in the new position, and focus on delivering that. Once you do that, then it doesn't matter. You will already have moved and grown beyond the original. And by the way, you're even going to have to change socialization. Now you can't go back and start socializing with your peers because they are now your direct reports. I think one of the mistakes that people make in the corporate career, in their corporate careers, is to think that because we work together, we are there for friends and we should socialize together. No, we are not. So change social circles. Find someone else to hang out with. Okay, Jack Mukasa or Abbas Chivazo. I don't know which of you is him.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
Fine. Who is this?
Jack Mukasa.
Jack, go ahead.
Yes. I need your help on how do you handle the frustration that comes with affirmative action policies. For example, if you're working in a corporate company, and it is an unsaid rule that they intend to promote more women to promote equality. But you as a man, no matter how good you are or what you do, you feel like you will never stand a chance simply because the standing policy is we need to promote more women and create more equality. Not that it is a bad thing, but it tends to frustrate our intentions to grow. So how do you go about it? Thank you.
Now, Robert, if I can also chip in, this is Chivazo. Quickly.
First of all, Chivazo, before you chip in quickly, what relationship do you have with the original Abbas Chivazo?
He's my father.
Wow. Wow. Please send me a direct message. I would like to meet you and we have a conversation.
Oh, thank you. I'll do that.
Yes.
In fact, I'm Abbas Chivazo Jr.
I really want to meet with you because there are things I would like to hear from you about your father.
Oh, please, it's my pleasure.
Good.
Now, my question is, you talked about confidence and arrogance. And you say that so many people, before they met you, they could say, you know, they've heard a lot about you, people saying that you're arrogant. And that still comes back to me. I would like also I do work for a corporate company, but it's both, you know, both corporate and public service. But once you stand out, you know, to speak your mind, or to speak what is right, some people do, you know, mismatch it for you being arrogant. So I would like maybe if you can try to drill more, if at all you can try to simplify and say, if I'm into that situation, how can I really come out to be more like, you know, to explain to people that I'm not arrogant, but I'm just trying to speak my mind and what is right. Thank you.
Good. So let me start with the question by Abbas. Abbas, it takes me back to what I said about communication. I have learned the hard way now that part of it had to do with my style of communication. And I know that in certain circumstances, I can be very, very, very brash with my language. I can actually be, I can tear somebody down and reduce them to nothing. So over the years, I've learned that there is nothing to be gained by being like that, unless, of course, somebody is being a nuisance. Then at that point, I just want to crush you and finish you and move on. So Abbas, you need to invest in improving your delivery. You can still be honest without being rude, brash, or inconsiderate. Some of the people that you may be addressing may be so sensitive. Some of them have suffered different experiences, and so you remind them of those bad experiences. So I have learned that lesson the hard way, that I need to, because sometimes you're in such a powerful position that the language you use can be so brash and be mistaken for. So please be in your language. You learn, and as I said, Ottawa is going to be teaching public speech. These are some of the things that in communications you need to teach yourself. How to temper your language, how to choose your words carefully, understand the audience you're addressing, and therefore select or choose your diction properly. In some contexts, even your jokes may not be well appreciated. And so what you say will always come to reflect that. Then Jack, man, that, first of all, I'm glad that you raised this issue. Now, if you are frustrated because there is affirmative action for women in an organization, now imagine how much frustration the women suffer in an organization that doesn't even give them a chance. They just flip and that's what I was talking about, emotional intelligence. Can you understand the frustration they face when they are performing better than the men, but they are being discriminated against? So once you understand that frustration, then the question is, I think you are faced with two things. One, you can stay and fight your corner and say, I am going to work twice as hard in order to be acknowledged, then especially if the place pays well. Or leave, take your skills to another organization where this doesn't work and where the privilege of men continues, and you will go through. People, you are not married to an organization. You are not wedded to an organization. You are not nailed in an organization. If the things in an organization are not working for you, part of the way to get ahead is to leave. Leave and go to another place where you can prosper. If you're not prospering here, leave. Let me see if I can get Herbert Benon Oluka.
Yes, good evening, Robert. Can you hear me clearly?
The world is listening to you, my friend.
You can hear clearly?
Very clearly, very clearly.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing this. The issue that I want to bring up is that most of our organizations are closed societies at the managerial level. As a corporate society, we are not very good at intentional mentorship. Somehow individual managers hide information, and at institutional level, some organizations keep information close to their chests. if you're trying to learn and get ahead, how do you crack such closed corporate societies in a way that's beneficial and not detrimental to your growth? Thank you.
Thanks, Herbert, and really brilliant question there for us to deal with. So, if it is a closed club and people are holding information, what you need to do is at a junior level, become so good at doing your work that you're indispensable. Either of two things is going to happen. A more open organization is going to come and poach you and take you and give you opportunity to grow, or the closed group is going to be so incompetent and unable to deliver the results within the organization. They will begin to look for people who are able to do it. Do not waste time trying to crack into this thing, because it's just a waste of your time. Just to focus and invest in improving who you are, and also looking around for other opportunities. There are opportunities out there, but I frown on people like that, because if you close yourself in as a manager and hold information, you're sabotaging yourself. You're undermining your ability to deliver, because you are not paying attention. You are not enabling your team to help you. I used to do this a lot for my team. Now I suffered the opposite problem, because people would become so good. Organizations will come and steal them from me, and I couldn't afford to keep them. So they would say, we know so-and-so at Vision. They come and take them, because I enabled them. So for me, I see that as self-sabotage on the side of managers. But you, the person who wants to get ahead, as I said, once you know you are ahead, you invest in your competitiveness as a person. So if this is closed, then another door will open. And Bob Marley said it very well. He said, when one door is closed, many more is open. That's what he said. So just know that if this is closed, don't lose time trying to break through here. Clearly you're not wanted. You go and find somewhere else. The day we as corporates, as we call ourselves, learn that lesson is the day we'll liberate ourselves from abusive employment relationships. Emma Kayongo, YouTube. How can we cure mediocrity and settling for less? I find we tend to compromise on quality as a people in Uganda, and those who demand it are literally hated. Again, it depends on your set of values. If from childhood you accepted and settled for less, and you were not pushing for excellence, you will accept it throughout your life. Now, if there is an organization that happens to or wants to play second fiddle, that's perfectly all right. They can do that if they so wish, but they will underperform as an organization. So, the tone is set by the organization. Is it an organization that demands excellence, or is it a family where they demand excellence? So this value of demanding excellence is personal. It's something you develop. But if you're willing to settle for mediocrity, that's okay. There's no problem. You will accept it. And then once you have accepted it, that's what you settle for. But you shouldn't. And if you're a guy who does not settle for excellence, and people are hating you for it, it is okay. You be patient. We will see who will prosper and who will thrive. The last question I'm taking, and then, the mentoring session, the rest I will do on Twitter. You can post, or I'll go to YouTube and answer your questions. Or as my producer, Fuji, always, she sends them and I answer them. Ntananga Phyllis has asked me, how do you know when it's time to move on to a new job or a new career path? Fantastic question. They say, especially those of us who engage in some kind of athletic physical activity, your body will tell you. Now, at some point in your career, you will start to feel or to see the way the dynamics are moving. You are unable to apply yourself. You can't achieve certain results. As we say, things are not moving. One of my good friends, Joel Kibazo, told me something. He said, the time comes when Every button you press, nothing happens. You're trying to do something, it's not moving. And you try to get things done, nobody's paying attention to you. The writing is on the wall. Or if you're not feeling fulfilled by what you're doing, it seems routine and you don't feel like you're growing, that's a time to walk. The signs are there. It is telling you you are wasting time. Now, in my case, when the time arrived, with every passing day, the voice in my conscience kept getting louder. Robert, it is time to go. Your time has come. I kept looking around, and every which way I looked at it, there was only one way, and that way was out. That time will come to you, and it will be telling you. And then one final question from MEO team. How to get ahead usually requires putting in time, and how do you balance family time and the need to work hard, put in the time, especially when you have a young family? There are many other things on which we waste time. So let's first divide our 24 hours. 6 hours you're asleep. And if you are married, as looks like you are, you add in another 2 hours of our other obligations. So that's 8, gone. Then you have another 8, that is 16, in which you should do work. Okay? Now you have another 8 which are free. So one of the things is teach yourself how to allocate your time and do the things and be very disciplined about it. I'm going to use a very graphic example of how people waste time. You go to the loo for a long call. Then you go with your phone. What took you there was the long call. Now when you get there, you start engaging on social media while you are in there. So although you have finished the other business of long, you now get distracted by the need to respond to this tweet, answer that WhatsApp, and so you spend more time in that place than you needed to. You've got to be disciplined. If it's time to sleep, go and sleep. Don't start now answering people and abusing people on social media. No. If you're in the office, focus. Or as my Nigerian friends say, focus. Okay?
So needless to say, I'm hard to live. On me, I'm stumbling away. Slowly learning life is okay. Shying away. I'll become with all your love.